Everyone remembers the day they awakened, the color of their rank, the sound of the crowd, the way their parents looked at them, like they finally meant something. I remember mine too, just differently. In this world, your rank is your life. E rank, you survive. D rank, you work. C rank, you matter. B and above, you're someone. S rank, you're practically a god. And me, I was turning 18. I'd been waiting my whole life for this moment. We all had. One by one, they touched the stone. One by one, the stone answered. My friend Dio, D rank. He cried. His mother cried harder. Marcus, the guy who used to knock my lunch off the table every other week, B rank. Of course. Then it was my turn. I remember how cold it felt. I remember closing my eyes. I remember thinking, please, anything. Even E, just give me something. The stone went dark, not dimmed, not flickered. Dark, like I'd reached in and pulled the light out of it. The examiner looked at his tablet, looked at me, looked back at the tablet, and said 2 words I will never forget. No result. Null. That's what they call people like me. Not weak, not low-ranked. Null. Like we don't even register as human anymore. They escorted me out through a side door, so the ceremony could continue, so I wouldn't ruin the mood. I walked until the city lights disappeared, until there were no more ranked citizens to look through me, until it was just me and the dark. I didn't know then that the dark had been waiting for me. I should have run. Every survival instinct I had was screaming at me to run. But something else was louder, something deep, something that had been asleep my entire life. And it was angry. I don't remember fighting it. I remember waking up. The monster was gone. And my hands were glowing. They said I had no rank. They were right. I don't have a rank. I have something the system was never built to measure. There's a version of this story where I figured it out slowly, carefully, where I tested my limits one step at a time, like someone rational, someone in control. That's not what happened. What happened was, I almost lost myself before I even knew what I was becoming. I went back every night, not because I was brave, because I had nowhere else to go. No guild, no district, no rank. The Null Zone was the only place that didn't require me to be something I wasn't. And the creatures here, they didn't care about rank stones. They just attacked. Which meant every night I got a little bit more of what they had. It felt natural. That was the part that should have worried me. It felt completely natural. Like breathing. Like something I'd always known how to do and had just been waiting for permission. On the 4th night I pushed further, deeper into the zone than I'd gone before, where the creatures get bigger, where even D-rank hunters don't go alone. I found a B-class shadow beast, twice my height, 4 times my weight. I looked at it and felt hungry. That was new. It was the hardest fight I'd had. It threw me through 2 walls, cracked 3 of my ribs. I felt them go. But every time I got back up, I was faster than before. Like the pain was information my body was immediately converting into something useful. When it finally went down, when I finally felt that pull in my chest, the absorption, I made a mistake. I let it all in at once. Know how long I was out. When I opened my eyes, I was standing. Not lying down. Standing. In the center of a crater that hadn't been there before. 30 feet across. Perfectly circular. Like something had detonated from inside my chest. Remember making it. I didn't remember the power leaving my body. I didn't remember anything between the absorption and waking up standing in the silence. And that terrified me more than any creature. Because if I can't control what comes out, if something can take over when I absorb too much, then what am I really absorbing? Their strength? Their instincts? or something else. I almost didn't recognize myself. Same face, same dark hair. But my eyes, they were flickering, not glowing, not blazing, just flickering on their own. Like something behind them was restless, awake, waiting. I hadn't eaten in 3 days. I realized it standing there, 3 days. And I wasn't hungry. I wasn't tired either. I pressed my hand flat against the glass, looked myself dead in the eyes, and whispered, "What are you doing to me?" My reflection didn't answer, but my eyes flickered violet one more time, like something inside me thought the question was funny. I heard the fight before I saw it. Not screaming. That's what caught me off guard. No panic, no desperation. Just the precise, controlled sounds of someone who was losing and hadn't decided to admit it yet. A rank hunter, solo, dawn, null zone. Every one of those things is wrong. A rank hunters don't come to the null zone. They definitely don't come alone. And nobody comes here at dawn unless they're either desperate or they're looking for something they don't want witnessed. I should have kept walking. I want to be honest about that. After everything the ranked world had done to me, after every side door and null list and empty rank stone, I almost kept walking. But she wasn't scared. She was angry. Quietly, precisely, dangerously angry. Like the creatures weren't a threat. They were an inconvenience. I'd never seen anyone look at danger like that before. I wanted to know what that felt like. No rank signature. No combat energy reading. To them, I was just meat that walked into the room. Perfect. She didn't say thank you. She didn't look relieved. She looked like someone whose plan had just changed in a way she hadn't expected, but was already calculating how to use. Then she said, "What rank are you?" Null. She looked at the creatures, looked at me, looked at my hands where the violet light had just been, and said, "I know what a null looks like. That's not what you are." I didn't answer. I started to leave. Then she said something that stopped me cold. "I've been watching you for 4 nights, Kyle. She knew my name. She knew my name before I told her. She knew how many nights I'd been out here. She hadn't stumbled into that fight. She'd been in that fight because she put herself there, because she wanted to see what I would do. I'd saved someone who didn't need saving. She'd been bait. And I walked right into it. I almost ran. I want to be honest about that too. After what I'd seen in my reflection, after the crater I couldn't remember making, the last thing I needed was someone who already knew my name looking at me like I was the answer to a question they'd been asking for a long time. But then she said, "I'm not from the guild, Kyle. I'm not here to register you. I'm here because the system flagged your signature 4 days ago and sent someone else to find you first. That someone isn't me, and they're not coming to talk. Someone else was already looking. Someone the system sent. Someone who wasn't coming to talk." I thought about the crater, about my flickering eyes, about 3 days without food or sleep in a body that didn't seem to care. I thought about what I might be becoming, and I thought, if something is already hunting me, I need to know what I am before it finds me. I asked her one question. "How long do we have?" She didn't hesitate. 3 days, maybe less. I didn't trust her. I want to make that clear. I didn't trust her at all. But distrust is a luxury you can't always afford. So I nodded, and we walked. And neither of us looked back, which meant neither of us saw the one who was already there. Everyone assumes that having power means having control, that the two things come together, packaged, inseparable. Nobody told me that you could carry something capable of leveling a city block and still have absolutely no idea what it does when you aren't watching it. I was about to find out that the most dangerous thing about what I am isn't what I do to my enemies. It's what I do to the people standing next to me. She talked for 40 minutes before I said a single word. I'd learned by then that Seren thinks out loud, not because she needs to, because she wants you to follow the logic yourself, so you can't argue with the conclusion. She told me his name first, Riven, A rank nullifier, the only one currently active in the system. I didn't know what a nullifier was. She explained it like a surgeon describes a procedure, clean and without decoration, because the situation doesn't have room for anything else. A nullifier doesn't fight you. A nullifier finds the frequency of your ability, the specific signature it produces, and cancels it. Permanently. Like cutting a wire that can never be reconnected. She told me there were people walking around the ranked world right now who used to have abilities and don't anymore. Not dead. Just empty. Ranked citizens who touched their rank stone one morning and felt nothing where something used to be. I asked her what happens to a null when a nullifier takes their ability. She didn't answer right away, which was its own answer. Less than nothing. That's what she finally said. Less than nothing. Because at least a null has the possibility of what they might become. After a nullifier, there is no possibility. There is just the absence greater than where something used to be trying to exist. I thought about my hands, the way they glowed in the dark of the Null Zone that first night. The way the void energy felt like breathing. Natural. Mine. The idea of losing it and of going back to being nothing after feeling what I'd felt. I understood then why people fear loss more than death. Death is an ending. Loss is an ending you have to keep living inside. Then she told me her theory. And this was the part that stopped me completely. She said my void absorption doesn't have a ceiling greater than because it was never meant to be a combat ability. Then I asked her what it was meant to be then. Then she said she didn't know exactly. Then but the ranking system, the one that assigns every human on Earth their ability at 18, was not built to give people power. It was built to manage it, to categorize it, contain it, control it, to make sure nothing emerged that the system itself couldn't measure and therefore couldn't stop. And then she said something that I have not stopped thinking about since.
The system didn't fail to rank you, Kale. It encountered you and chose not to.
Because whatever you are, whatever the void is building inside you, the system recognized it, and it was afraid of it. And afraid things don't categorize what scares them. They hide from it, and hope it doesn't notice them back. I asked her how she knew all this. She said 6 years working inside the guild system teaches you to read what the system doesn't say, louder than what it does. And then I asked her the question I'd been holding since the Null Zone. The one I needed the answer to more than any information about Riven or nullifiers or what I might be becoming. I asked her, "Why are you helping me?" Not aggressively, not suspiciously, just honestly. The way you ask something when you genuinely cannot construct the answer yourself. She said, "Because the system flagged you as a threat to be eliminated, and I've spent 6 years working inside that system. And in 6 years, I have never once seen it flag something it was afraid of. It's not afraid of threats, Kyle. It's afraid of things it cannot control. And you are the first thing I have ever seen that it genuinely cannot control. That either makes you the most dangerous thing alive, or the most important. I haven't decided which yet. And if you decide dangerous, then I'll be the one who shuts you down, not him." I believed her. Both parts, which is exactly why I stayed. She said we had one goal and one goal only. Not strength, not speed. Control. She explained it the way a weapons instructor explains the difference between a loaded gun and a trigger. The power means nothing without the discipline to decide exactly when it fires. Right now, my void absorption activated on instinct and shut down on its own terms. I was a passenger in my own ability, and a passenger has no chance against someone who has spent years learning to drive. She was going to teach me to turn it on deliberately and turn it off deliberately. In 3 days, I didn't tell her I wasn't sure it was possible. She already knew. The first hour was humiliating. I could feel the void inside me like a coal in my chest. Present, warm, real. But every time I reached for it deliberately, it pulled back. Like it didn't trust my intentions. Like it had its own opinion about when it was needed, and my opinion didn't factor in. Seren didn't say anything. She just kept pushing. Blue energy burst after blue energy burst, each one harder than the last, each one designed not to hurt me, but to provoke the void into responding. She was trying to make it angry, so I could catch it in the moment it moved and learn to hold it. By the second hour, I could feel the pattern. The void moved on threat, on genuine danger, on the specific frequency of something reaching for me, with intent to damage. The problem was, I needed it to move on choice, not threat, choice. Those are not the same thing. Threat is reaction, choice is decision. And the void had been reacting my entire life before I even knew it existed. Teaching it to decide was going to take longer than 3 days. But we didn't have longer than 3 days. So, she hit me with everything she had, not to hurt me, to force the void to the surface fast enough that I could grab it before it grabbed me. It worked. Almost. I felt it the moment it happened. Before I saw it. Before either of us understood what was occurring. My hand reached toward her, not in aggression, just in the way the void always reaches towards something with energy it recognizes, and I felt it pull, not from a creature, not from a shadow beast or a dungeon monster. From her, a fragment of her healing ability flowing out of her and into me before either of us could stop it. 1 second, maybe less. Then I yanked my hand back, but the damage was done. She felt it immediately. I saw it in her face before I fully understood it myself. The flicker of something missing, where something had been a moment ago. Small, just a fragment, but missing. I'd absorbed from a living person, from an ally, from the only person helping me survive the next 2 days. Neither of us spoke for a long time, the warehouse completely silent around us. Just the two of us, and the impossible thing that had just happened between us. Then she said, very quietly, very carefully, "Did you mean to do that?" And I said, "No," and she nodded, once, and said, "Then we have a bigger problem than Riven." I tried to find the fragment inside me, the piece of her healing ability, to understand it, to return it if I could. Instead, I found something else, something that was not her ability, something that was not my void absorption, something that had no name I recognized, and no classification I had ever heard of in any rank category ever described to me. It felt like looking at something from the corner of your eye that disappears when you look directly at it, present when I wasn't focused on it, gone the moment I tried to see it clearly. I called Seren over, told her what I'd found. She went very still, pulled out a small device from her uniform, a guild scanner, ran it over me slowly. It returned no data, not null data, no data, like the ability didn't exist in any dimension the scanner could reach. She looked at the scanner, looked at me, and said, "Kyle, that's not an ability the ranking system gave you. That's something the ranking system was specifically built to prevent." I asked her what it was. She said she didn't know. But whatever it was, it had been there since before his void absorption. Dormant. Waiting. And absorbing the fragment of her healing ability had woken it up. I asked her if that was bad. She looked at the scanner one more time, then at me. I think it's either the worst thing or the best thing that has ever happened in the history of the ranked world. She paused. I genuinely don't know which. We kept going, because stopping wasn't an option. Riven was still coming. The clock was still running. The fact that I had apparently developed a second ability that no classification system on Earth could identify was a problem for after we survived the next 48 hours. She pushed harder. I pushed back harder, the void responding faster now, almost deliberate, almost controlled, getting closer to the thing she was trying to teach me. And then my body started doing something else entirely. I noticed the shadow first. Mine. On the warehouse wall, moving a half second after I moved, like it was considering whether to follow me, rather than just following. Then Seren stopped mid-sequence and stared at my hair. I touched it, felt the texture change near my temple, coarser, darker, cold to the touch, void, black bleeding through from the root, and my eyes. She was looking at my eyes, violet, fully violet, without me doing anything, without a threat, without a fight, just on, like they'd forgotten how to be silver anymore. The void wasn't just inside me now, it was becoming me, replacing me, one detail at a time. So slowly I hadn't noticed it happening, until it was already visible to someone standing 10 feet away. I want to be honest about what I felt in that moment. It wasn't fear, exactly. It was something more specific than fear. It was the feeling of standing on a line and realizing the line is moving, and you have been walking with it, without noticing, and you are now much further from where you started than you understood yourself to be. I was still Kyle. I was fairly certain I was still Kyle. But I was becoming increasingly uncertain about how long that would remain true. She didn't say it was fine. I respected that. She didn't say it wasn't fine either. She just said, "Keep going. We process this after. Right now I need you present." So I pushed it down, the shadow moving wrong, the hair, the eyes, the second ability with no name, the fragment of hers living inside me. I pushed all of it down, and I focused on the void, and I reached for control, and for approximately 40 minutes. It almost worked. I don't know exactly what triggered it. One moment the void was there, closer to controlled than it had ever been, responding to my intention rather than just my instinct. And then, nothing. Not reduced. Not weakened. Gone. I reached for it and found the absence of it. Clean and total and absolute. Like it had never been there. Like the last 3 weeks of the Null Zone hadn't happened. Like I was 18, again standing in front of a rank stone, waiting for a light that wasn't coming. My eyes went silver. My shadow moved correctly. The void, black in my hair, faded back to dark brown over about 30 seconds, while I stood in the warehouse and felt myself become nothing again. She ran the scanner again. No void signature. No second ability. No absorbed fragment of her healing. Nothing. Just a null, standing in an abandoned warehouse. With less than 48 hours before someone trained specifically for it to permanently erase abilities arrived to find him, and nothing left to fight back with. I sat down on the warehouse floor, which felt like the only honest response to the situation. Serene sat across from me. Neither of us said anything for a long time. Then I said, "It took it back." She looked at me. The void. It gave me everything. And then it took it all back. Like it was testing something. Like it needed to know if I could function without it before it decided whether to come back. She was quiet for a moment. Then, "And can you?" I looked at my hands. Ordinary hands. No glow. No void. No power. Just hands. "I don't know yet." She nodded slowly. Like that was exactly the right answer. Like anything more confident would have worried her. We sat in that silence for a while, both of us living inside the same problem from different angles. Then something occurred to me, something small, something I almost didn't say out loud, because saying it out loud made it real. I said, "What if that's the control? What if the void shutting down completely is what controlled looks like? What if it didn't leave? What if it learned to be still?" Seren looked at me for a long time. The kind of look that means someone is running every implication of what you just said, through every framework they have, as fast as they can. Then she said, "If you're right, and the void can choose to be completely invisible, then Riven can't find it to nullify it. He needs a signature to lock onto. If the void produces no signature, if it goes completely dark on command. Riven arrives, scans you, finds nothing, classifies you as a standard null, and leaves." I looked at her, and if I'm wrong, she met my eyes. Then we have 40 hours to come up with something else. We trained differently after that, not pushing the void to the surface, teaching it to disappear, teaching it silence instead of strength, which is a strange thing to teach power. Power doesn't want to be quiet. Power wants to be used. Power wants to be known. But the void had been hiding inside a null for 18 years before it ever showed itself. Maybe silence was something it already understood, better than I did. I stood outside for a long time after Seren fell asleep, looking at my hands in the dark, the same hands that had leveled a crater. That had taken power from creatures. That had accidentally taken something from the one person I couldn't afford to take anything from. Ordinary hands. In the ordinary dark. I thought about what the void might be testing. What question it was asking by going silent. What answer it was waiting for. I thought about Seren's question. Can you function without it? And I thought, maybe that's not the question. Maybe the question is, who are you when the power is gone? What's left? What's real? What's actually you? And what's just the void wearing your face? I didn't have an answer, but I stayed standing, which felt like a start. I heard it at the edge of perception, the specific sound of someone moving who has been trained not to make sound. Almost perfect silence. Almost. Not a creature. Not the E-rank boy. Someone else, moving through the Null Zone at the specific hour when anyone with intelligence would assume nobody was watching. 40 hours became 39, and something in the dark was already counting down with me.